Learning as we know it is a scam. Typically, we're taught that learning has rules, consistently deeming it as a one-size-fits-all process when really, each person, situation, and setting requires different responses. I didn't view life with this openness until I was afforded the opportunity to walk El Camino de Santiago, or in English, the Way of St. James. And the bounds were completely shed this May after completing my first year of college at the most illustrious HBCU in the world, better known as North Carolina A&T. So, I'd like to walk with you back through my journey of finding my way. I'll quickly set the scene. After switching schools 7 times between kindergarten and 10th grade, I found an academic home here at the historic Booker T. Washington Senior High School. I am proud to say that I graduated from this very school in 2024, not only with my high school diploma, but my associate's degree as well. But before I explain my journey, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank a woman who inspired, nurtured, taught, and loved me through it, Miss Smathers, who began as my AP capstone teacher and later became my mentor. I want to thank her for sticking with me through all of the ups and downs of my time here. When I arrived at Booker T in 10th grade, I decided to dive in head first. I became a part of a volunteer organization sponsored by my English teacher, and eventually got so close to her that I considered her my school mom. She shared information about the Shane Battier Guide Scholarship Program. I applied and was selected. After earning it, my world began shifting for the better. I found a flyer for an 11-day trip through Spain in the summertime, sponsored by Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and I was hesitant to apply. This would be my first time outside of the country, and for a mysterious 70-mile trek through the countryside of Spain. But my mom encouraged me to apply anyway, since there's no harm in trying. I eventually submitted my application and was later interviewed. After a few weeks, I was notified that I was one of 10 students selected. I watched countless videos advise me what to pack, but none about the walk itself. I was scared and didn't want to begin regretting my decision. But I figured, if anything, I typically use my personality to get myself out of tough situations. Well, I later learned that personality cannot move your legs. Anyways, I packed a nearly 50-pound checked-in luggage, a carry-on stuffed to the brim, and a book bag, but it was only partially full. And at the airport, when meeting the other pilgrims, we all introduced ourselves to each other. But me and this one girl just clicked. Her name was Ebony. We went off to get sushi together, and from that moment on, we were inseparable. After forgetting about my storage units on wheels, I lugged them for just a few moments before I realized my overpacking mistake. Sometimes the bus driver and chaperones would help me with my bags, but ultimately, my baggage was mine to carry. Enter the first and immediate lesson. Hauling baggage is not something anyone wants to deal with, and it is quite a burden to carry alone. So after that, I began shedding what wasn't essential and made room for the possibilities I hadn't even begun to imagine. Our first 2 days in Madrid included adjusting to the time difference, exploring the city, and trying new foods. We were soon joined by the other students, all 16 and 17 years old, who we were doing the pilgrimage alongside. The next morning, we set out for Sarria, where we began our Camino journey. We woke before sunrise, and the walk began. Sarria to Puerto Marin is a 15-mile walk and took us about 7 hours. Ebony and I spent our first day oversharing, walking, laughing, and singing along to her downloaded music, especially Brent Faiyaz. While taking a short break, Ebony and I began chatting with an older couple. They were in their late 50s and doing the Camino because they finally had the time and resources to embark on an adventure together. The woman asked us about our feelings regarding the walk and was so invested in our thoughts. That's when I realized wisdom in life comes with experience, not just time. It cemented my belief that there is no age limit to living or learning. Well, that and the age diversity. I'm talking about the most seasoned, smoked, and aged brisket you've ever laid your eyes on, to buns that looked fresh out of the oven. Day 2 came, and my foot began producing unbearable pain. Each step felt like a jagged, rusty knife was getting pushed into the arch of my foot, accompanied by a painful squeezing sensation. But I walked on it anyway. And it grew even worse. While Ebony and I were taking a little break in a cafe along the trail, we met a girl who was a few years older than us. After talking for a while, we eventually went our separate ways. We soon crossed paths again, and she told us that she found a secret way to a beautiful view, but it was a little off trail. I was extremely skeptical, but Ebony was excited to explore, and there was no way I was letting her go alone. As we began following her, there were people who introduced themselves as a part of her group sitting by the entrance of the pathway. They told us that we could leave all of our stuff with them. We politely declined. We followed her up the random trail. My foot pain worsened with each step, and this was beginning to feel like the first 5 minutes of the most generic horror movie ever. I was praying adrenaline would be enough to allow me to run. Eventually, she led us to a beautiful landscape where a stone-made structure stood. While I don't think I'll be following strangers up random trails again, I'm extremely grateful we did, because I realized how beautiful and peaceful it felt when I decided to put my fears, doubts, and judgments down and surrender to the unknown. This was also my first real test in leadership, signifying the importance of knowing how to follow before expecting to lead. Day 3 came, and the foot pain was intolerable. We began walking, and guess who found us? The not-so-shady stranger. I ended up behind the group, walking alone due to the pain, and believed this was the end. I sat on the side of the road with nothing but grass and pebbles comforting me, while bitterly accepting my fate. I called my mom on WhatsApp, expecting her to keep me company in what I thought were my last moments, but suddenly, the call dropped. I lost reception and any shred of hope I might have had left. I cried even more, and after what felt like 20 minutes, I got up and just started walking. In that moment, I realized that no one could live my life for me, and I needed to show up for myself. I had no idea where I was going or how far I'd make it, but that didn't matter because all I could do was my best. I ended up at this cozy-looking cobblestone hostel with a bench in front and just sat there. After connecting to their Wi-Fi, I called my mom back to peacefully experience my final moments. After a while of sitting there, one of the chaperones, Lauren, came to my rescue. She checked on me and got me water. Soon after, another girl from our group, along with an extra chaperone, sat with us while the bus appeared out of nowhere to pick us up. That moment, I realized that showing up is the secret to life. Because one step, or maybe a few, in the right direction, completely shifted the trajectory of my journey. We were out of commission for 2 walking days, and while we still walked to our meals and participated in the group activities, I felt like I was cheating by not walking from city to city. During that time, we also went to the hospital, and I was told I had plantar fasciitis while my fellow pilgrim sprained her ankle. Day 5 was the second to last day, and when I was able to restart. I got my walking sticks and pushed through. Even if I did take a few too many breaks, and I won't lie and say I had the brightest attitude, but I was really grateful to be back on the Camino. The scenery was beautiful, and despite the physical pain, the satisfaction I held mentally and spiritually overpowered most of my negative feelings. Then the last day came. The walk was no longer along random countryside. We were now in a proper city. Our music felt extra immersive as we got closer. The complex instrument-induced melodies of the songs, while steadily approaching the beautifully glistening golden structure, was surreal. That was the moment I realized that I was way more capable than I let myself believe. I went from thinking I'd be vulture food to standing right here, fully alive. After returning from the Camino, my life was different. I'd found my best friend, was way more open to adventure, and began shedding the bounds I once thought my life had. But unexpected baggage was awaiting my arrival before I could fully step into my newly found wokeness. The mentorship that brought me to the Camino ended its path here. Let's just say the decluttering process took quite some time. And while I'm still unpacking bits and pieces, my willingness to adapt and proceed has increased tremendously. Now, I'm in college. And as I embark on this journey, I appreciate all of it. I got a taste of independence, built meaningful connections, lived what felt like 5 years in a few months, and grew as a person and a student significantly. But my journey has just begun, so I won't dive too deeply. I learned that life is a camino, a journey that is uniquely my own. Obstacles are inevitable, but every time it's been my response that counted. The beauty in the Camino was never just the cathedral or even how or when I arrived. It was the willingness to take control of my journey and keep on going, however that looked. Learning isn't just in the classroom, it's all around us. It's seeking adventure with a shady stranger, leaving the limits of life behind me with our 50-year-old friends, and leading myself even when the destination is unclear. So, as we say along the Camino, buen camino, wherever your journey leads you.